Alright, hello everyone, my name is Shep, welcome back to the Butcher's Circus. Today we are gonna return with the SHEP'S team showcase, and today it is SHEP'S number 3, so instead of having a doggy or an antiquarian you have a grave robber in the back, and we are off to a pretty poor start, because this plague grenade does hit our grave robber. So how does this team work, how does it stack up, and how does it compare to the other SHEP'S? Well, this one you can play it in a little bit of, you can play it in many slightly different ways. For example, right now I'm playing it very defensively. I'm playing it with Reclaim and Exotic Snuff, so my flash one's going to be really good against damage teams, because I'm going to be able to use Reclaim whenever I want, and apply regen on whoever I want, and I won't get stunned, and so I'll be able to do that, right? My Man-at-Arms has the Protector's Kaicha, so he can stay alive for a pretty long time, and so the Redeem has a lot of value on him. My Abomination here has Spiked Chain and Wretch's Cloak, so I do not have the net, and the reason behind that, and the reason behind my characters having all pretty poor accuracy, is that my Man-at-Arms is going to stay alive for longer, and he's going to use Command. Of course, I'm not going to have Command round 1, but you don't always have to Command round 1. Sometimes you can just bolster and go for different plays. Round 1 you can go for Slam, which already has pretty high accuracy. You can go for a defensive Reclaim, and you can go for a defensive Toxin Trickery, which is exactly what I'm gonna do here. So yeah, after that we're gonna start starting Command and the Trinkets on the Grave Robber. There's two ways you can bring Trinkets on the Grave Robber once you do decide to play with Stress. Is that you can either do Leather Bandolier and Monkey's Paw, or you can do Monkey's Paw and Satchel of Dirty Tricks. Now, what's the difference? This is something that a lot of people are going to disagree on, but the difference between the two is that Leather Bandolier gives you an extra 4 dodge, it gives you an extra 10% damage range skills, which is pretty much meaningless, but it also gives you 5 crit, which is nice. But what it does give you overall is a lot more dodge, because an extra 4 dodge base and the crit chance, whenever the Grave Robber gets a crit, she gets an extra 10 dodge, so essentially you might be running around with an extra 14 dodge just from having the Leather Bandolier over the Satchel of Dirty Tricks. Well then, what does the Satchel of Dirty Tricks do, Shep? Remind me. Well, it gives you 10 accuracy, which is really important for the Panic Darts. It gives you an extra 20% blight chance, which is helpful if you're hitting into characters with high blight resistance, but you already have 140% base, which is amazing, so it's not that much of a difference. It gives you an extra 10% stress health, so Panic Darts goes from 30 to 33, and of course it also gives you 4 dodge. So both of them are pretty decent, but if you have the command buffs, you don't need to rely on that extra 10 accuracy from the Satchel Dirty Tricks quite as much, as long as you can keep your Man-at-Arms alive, and as long as you can keep going that way. So I would have dropped the command first. The reason I didn't do that is because I want to have my Beast File. Also, I'm getting really unfortunate here against my opponent, Schmaltz. What is that? Schmaltz Prallo, interesting name. Yeah, we're getting pretty unlucky getting hit by all these plague grenades, so yeah, what can you do about it, right? I'm gonna go for the command buff now. Yeah, I think that is gonna be the play here. So I did decide to drop a Reclaim on the Abomination just so he wouldn't drop down to 0 immediately, so I'd be able to use Beast Spile, and then I'd be able to transform. And of course, just like all other stress teams, this one wants to have the second transformation with the Abomination, and the Grave Robber is kind of an end-game character. You really want to keep her alive at all costs. You really do. And what's easier to do is just kind of focus one character down, focus a really high-priority character down with her Panic Darts, and it is pretty good at doing that. Now, who do we want to take down? Speaking of that, they're all pretty scary. I'm gonna go for this Shield Breaker. Sadly, we don't get a crit. Look at that crit chance, 30.5%. Command buff and Leather Bandolier, you're gonna be critting like crazy, but sadly it did not give us that immediate crit. Of course, once you get a crit, way more bleed. Oh boy! Once you get a crit, way more bleed, way more stress, and I mean blight. Yeah. So that was a very unfortunate a punish skill right there, because my Abomination is now completely gone. He has been erased from this match, and he doesn't get his second transformation off, so that was really unlucky. The Pierce did enough damage, it was likely to, and then the Punish just got the immediate 25% death blow, so yeah, sometimes you're gonna get a little bit unlucky even if you have a very nice defensive setup and you're not gonna have a good time. So if you had the original SHEP'S dress here, with the Reign of Stars and with the Hound Savvy, you'd be able to take this down easily. Like, Reign of Stars would absolutely demolish this backline, and then the other characters could handily take care of these two. So the Flagellant would still be able to 1v1 the enemy Flagellant, and the Grave Robber with like 2 command buffs would be able to take down the Shieldbreaker. But, I mean, not the Grave Robber, but overall, the overall pressure on her would be able to take her down. That's right, yeah, because if you're playing the original SHEP'S dress, you don't have Grave Robber, you do have Town Savvy. But yeah, if you did have the Reign of Stars here instead of the Reclaim, we would have a much better matchup against this team that we are up against, but you know, it's not the end of the world. This team does have some vulnerabilities, but it also has some strengths, and maybe they start coming into play, because we might start seeing that 68 dodge actually be absolutely fantastic here. It just depends on how the match goes. Alright, we're gonna drop that, and we do not get the Blight, so that's a problem of not running the Satchel of Dirty Tricks. So if you're not planning to go command like every single turn, or you're not planning to make sure that you are always gonna have a command buff, then by all means, like, you should most likely, like, 80% of the time bring the Satchel of Dirty Tricks. 80% of the time, yeah. But right now, do I drop an Exsanguinate here? I kind of need some pressure. I do kind of need some pressure. Maybe if I drop this Exsanguinate here, I'll be able to pressure this Flagellant into Death Star. And after that, I might be able to take him out one way or another. Maybe he goes for a risky Exsanguinate with his extra 0 accuracy, and we can take it from there. So she does go Abusive, which is pretty nice, because, you know, we're not gonna have to waste any stress on her. And she's also at 5 dodge, so that is pretty nice. So yeah, we are really hoping that... Oh yeah, we're also facing Battlefield Medicine. This is a terrible matchup for us, can you believe it? A team with Plague Doctor, yeah, it's not a great matchup. I'm gonna go for Panic Darts here. That's 4 actions, no, actually 3 actions with a 30% crit chance. I didn't get either of them. Most matches you're gonna have like 2 crits by now, so it is a little bit sad that we don't, yeah. A little bit on the sad side, but what can you do? Is it going to be just another immediate Battlefield Medicine? I think it's a bit of a misplay if that is what's going to happen. No, Noxious Blast, okay. That's smart. Chipping away at my Men-at-Arms. You know, he might have a big health bar, but the Blights are indeed going to chip away at his HP quite nastily too. I could drop an immediate Bellow first, or I could drop a command buff. I already have a command buff. I don't want to drop... Yeah, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna use the command buff next round. We failed 2 debuffs. Oof, that's not great. Yeah, I mean, the debuff resistances are surprisingly big. Look at this, anti-querying with Rancid Cure-All. That's an interesting setup, isn't it? Yeah, if it was against something like Mark Harbles, you know, she'd just get one shot anyway. And the bleed from the Hound Savvy and the bleed from the Reign of Stars would still be very likely to apply, so... Don't think that this is gonna save you from both the stress teams and the damage teams, because it's really not gonna do that. So right now we're dropping closer to Death Star. We're gonna go for a punish here. Sadly, no crits. Like, this is really bad, because she should be gone by now. And then we'd still have a pretty good fighting chance here, but we're not killing characters as quickly as we want to. So let's see, what does this Flash want to do? Preemptive Redeem, which I'm a little bit surprised about for sure. Yeah, I'm pretty surprised with that Preemptive Redeem. Normally you shouldn't do redeems unless you're at 0 HP, especially if you don't really have to, because I don't have stuns, I don't have anything like that. You could just click by the start of next round and then drop the redeem. You could have totally done something like that, but, you know, not a bad choice to redeem regardless, because the 2 characters are back at decent amounts of HP, so yeah. Can't really complain too much about it. Also the Grave Robber, of course, you are going to have Shadow Fade, so the backline between Grave Robber and Abomination is really good, because if the Grave Robber did get pulled at the start of the match, she can always go Shadow Fade, the Abomination's back into position, and the Grave Robber is ready to use her damage improved Panic Dart, so it's going to deal double damage, even more crit chance, and it's going to do way more stress too, which is nice. So we are dropping to 0 here. We don't have a redeem just yet. We might have to be greedy, I think. Yeah, I think we're gonna have to be greedy here. But how greedy are we gonna have to be is the question. Really greedy. Really greedy. I have to be greedy to a crit right now. Oh, that's no crit. That is no crit. I wanted to get a crit on her, just make her drop to 0, and after that the Panic Darts would take her out. That would have been really fun, but yeah, now the Battlefield Medicine is a complete waste, I'm gonna have to say. That was indeed a complete waste. And I can go for this, and then the next one will take her out. The question is, do I want to do that? Yeah, probably. I probably want to do that. So we finally get a crit here, so look at that dodge. 78 dodge. If you go afflicted and get like paranoid or fearful, you're gonna have 88 dodge after a crit. That's fantastic. Absolute fantastic amounts of dodge. And unlike the doggy, you know, if you have the 2 dodge trinkets on the doggy, unlike that situation, you are not gonna need a... You are not gonna need to keep guarding. The Grave Robber doesn't have to keep guarding, she can just keep spamming that Panic Darts and she's fine. So we're not gonna suffer an immediate test star, which I'm very happy about. And I really want to be greedy here. I want to be really greedy here. I want to go for... yeah, I want to not go for a heal. I want to not go for an immediate heal because I'm gonna take a lot of blight anyway, but I think that we've already survived on this sword check, so I'm just gonna do this. I'm gonna heal the Grave Robber a little bit as well, and I'm gonna do a big heal on the Man-at-Arms, and he's gonna stay alive for a little bit longer, you know. We heal him for 36, which is a fantastic amount because of that Protector's Kite. And now, if there is a heal, that is a terrible misplay, but it's okay. It is okay. We're gonna go for the Panic Dart, so you can say goodbye to your Shield Breaker. Having this little bit of extra damage from the Leather Bandolier can come in clutch. It can come in very clutch in these sort of situations, and also after you use Shadow Fade. Because the plus 10% damage kind of feels like amplified after you Shadow Fade. It doesn't work like that, but yeah, it feels like you do a lot more damage than what you should typically do with a Panic Darts. It does a surprising amount of direct damage. Can I resist the bleed? Oh, there we go, finally. We punish our opponent for not bringing a bleed chance Trinket. That is really nice. And right now we're just gonna start dropping some mellows, and hopefully that Plague Doctor starts moving to the front. So once that Plague Doctor is indeed in the front, she's gonna have a terrible time because she does not have the stab. So I kind of want to leave her for last. And thankfully for us, we are playing with a Grave Robber, which means that we can focus down characters. So that is exactly what I'm gonna do here. I'm gonna focus down that Antiquarian right now because she's a very annoying character. And here we go, more crits for the Grave Robber. More crits. We do 40 stress. If you had the Satchel of Dirty Tricks, you do 43 there. So doesn't change too much, 40 to 43. It's not a massive difference, but it can come in clutch. But yeah, I still prefer having the Leather Bandolier in this sort of setup. So we are gonna get hit by a Noxious Blast here. That is a decent amount of blight, but we're not dropping to 0 just yet, so I am fine with it. Here I'm gonna drop a command buff before I die. That's something that you should do a lot of times with your Man-at-Arms. Like you see that he's gonna die, you see that the other characters are gonna lose their accuracy buffs, like drop another command buff, they're gonna have essentially 3 extra rounds of feeling like the Man-at-Arms is alive, and that's great. Does she do enough damage? She does do enough damage. Oh, she's abusive, yeah, she's pretty much always gonna do more than 0 to my Man-at-Arms, so that's a little bit sad, but what can you do about it? We are dropping to 0 HP anyway. Do we want to drop a punish here? Crit. Oh, mineral. Oh, I would have loved a crit there. Mineral, that's horrible actually, because now he's not dropping down to 0. Yeah, that was the absolute worst that could have happened over there. Yeah, that's really sad, because we could have dropped him down to 0 immediately, and he would be forced to heal, but I guess he just heals anyway, because he's a little bit unhinged, I suppose. Right now I could drop another Bella, or I could drop a command buff, but I am gonna drop the Bella this time, just to get the Plague Doctor afflicted. I feel like that's worth it. If we just keep failing debuffs. If we did get her... If we did not get like any actouts from the Antiquarian or the Flagellant like doing extra stress on her, it could take us quite a while to actually afflict her. So right now, if you look at the accuracy numbers, like the Antiquarian has 85 accuracy with Festering Vapors, I have 78 dodge. It's basically never gonna hit. It's basically never gonna hit. My Grave Robber is essentially immune to anything you do to her at this point. She isn't, but she's almost there, you know? She is almost immune. One thing is that I do not really have to drop a Panic Darts here. I can just wait for her to blight out of it, and then the next Panic Darts I do, after 4 rounds, it's quite a bit. But I'm gonna go for the Flagellant anyway, because I don't feel like I'm in any pressure to just give her a heart attack. I don't really want to do that. I'd rather just go for the Flagellant here. I think this is a superior play. And once that corpse does go away, I think next round, I will be able to just drop a punish and she will likely die. So finally we say goodbye to our man-at-arms. That's not too bad. I could have clicked the flatulent and then healed the man-at-arms again. I definitely could have done that. Maybe that was a misplay on my end, because I was kind of I was fantasizing over the Grave Robber's damage numbers. Yeah, maybe I fantasized a little bit too much. I still have minus healing skill, so I'm gonna take a gamble here. I'm gonna go for a punish on the flatulent. Do not do this during your matches. Do not go for silly gambles like this. One also very important thing about having... Oh, that might... Okay, we live, thank goodness. One very important thing about playing with Grave Robber is that if she's the last character alive, she does not have a stress move, she only has pick to the face. So you have to be really careful about that, really careful. If I drop a punish here, if it's a crit, I don't think we kill him because he doesn't take extra stress at SR, but it would be really close. However, rule of thumb is redeems before exsanguinates. I'm pretty sure I said that in yesterday's video, and I'm gonna say it again. Unless you need some immediate tempo, or unless you're actually playing a damage team, going for the redeem before exsanguinate to actually keep your other characters alive with the flatulent, make sure that he's filling his supportive role, is almost always the best play. So right now we can drop him down to 0, he still has minus a lot of healing skills. You can still heal with Silver Syringe, that's for sure, but he won't heal very much, so I'm gonna do this. So we're gonna drop him to 0 now. He is gonna get a crit heal onto that Antiquarian. That might actually change a lot. That crit heal there, it might actually change things, but now she's gonna act, and the Flagellant is probably gonna go for a self-heal. He has to go for a self-heal, or else I just kill him with Panic Tars. But even if he goes for a self-heal, I'm not sure if the amount of HP that he's gonna heal with the Redeem is gonna be enough. Typically it would be 6 with minus 100% healing skills. Oh, the self-hit, it would be 6, but with Silver Syringe it might be 7, so maybe that makes a difference here, let's see. Yeah, he does heal for 7, interesting. We can drop a pick to the face into a punish if we want to, or we can drop a Panic Dart. Does it do enough damage? Only with a crit. Do I want to roll for the crit? Not really. If I do this, and then I punish... Well, he takes 4 stress, punish, no. If I do this, he also stays alive, but if I crit, he doesn't. Oh, that's sad. Yeah, if I got in a crit there, he would be gone, so that is a little bit saddening for us. Maybe I'm doing a misplay not killing the Antiquarian earlier. Yeah, maybe I am. That's good. A heal right now is a bad play, because I'll just punish him down to 0, and that'll be perfectly fine for me. But then again, if you don't heal, I'll just kill him maybe with a direct hit, so... Okay, here comes the Blight. It's not quite enough to bring us down to 0, so that's great. And we are gonna go for the punish. We still have 2 exsanguinates, so we're feeling good here. And we do take the 35. So it looks like there is justice in this world. Do remember that 25% death blow that happened on our Abomination earlier. If that had not happened, I would have been able to drop a redeem on him, I would have been able to transform twice, and this match would have been over ages ago, despite us still having a pretty unfavorable matchup. So that just goes to show how really decent this team is, I will say. So now we are gonna drop the Panic Darts here. I think so, yeah. Or we could pick to the face. Panic Darts punish is fine. So we get a massive crit there. We crit her for 6 despite the 20 prot. And she's going to be going down to 0. And right now this is a really bad spot for my opponent, because after the Antiquarian goes down, there's no way the Plague Doctor can win because she does not have the stab. You should always bring the stab on the Plague Doctor. No matter what, you always need to have it. You can see again, we get a very nice dodge, so we do take those. And right now I'm just gonna try taking out the Antiquarian. I'm not even gonna go for the Exsanguinate. I'm being greedy here, I'm aware. But getting the stress on her is also good, because if we can unlock you with death blows, we're just gonna win through stress, and that's fun. So yeah, I'm not too concerned even about dying here, because I will have my self-heal, so that's fine. And there she goes, and now all we have to do is clear the corpses. That is all we have to do, and we will ensure ourselves victory. I'm gonna give my opponent the kill on my... Oh no, I didn't mean to do that, I'm sorry. I did not mean to do that. I wanted to go punish to actually give my opponent the kill on the Flagellant. Well, that's sad, but yeah, I guess we do punish them even more heavily for not having that. How do you call it? The stab, right? So look at this, she has plus 25 accuracy on the Noxious Blast, so that would be 120 accuracy, and even with that, it's less than a 50-50 hit chance with 120 accuracy, right? That is insane. I've seen Finale miss on a Grave Robber with this amount of dodge. It's brutal. It is brutal. Look at the amount of crit she's getting. She's critting every round. She doesn't even have command buffs anymore. Yeah, you saw that go up to 88. It's not going to stay at 88 because you can't stack 2 crit buffs on her, sadly. It only lasts for 1 round. Here goes another Noxious Blast. This time it finally hits. Does it apply the Blight? Yeah, it does. Like, there's 2 Blight Trinkets on her. Of course it's going to apply the Blight. And now we are going to drop a Punish, just so we don't make her have a heart attack, and then, no, I mean, we're gonna drop a pick to the face, and then the punish should be the GG. No, we don't do enough damage. Oh, she's gonna stay alive for a bit. But it's okay, it's not the end of the world. We're gonna take her out now, the Flash Corpse is gonna go away, and we're gonna go ahead into the match with SHEP'S Stress number 4. So let's just drop the ceremonial Panic Darts on her to finish it off. Actually, can you give me the Fearful Affliction? Fearful or Paranoid, either is good. We go Paranoid, so that's 78 dodge, as you can see right there, and if we get a crit, it's gonna go up to 88. Yeah, that would be really nice, but no, we do not get a crit, but we do take her out, so GG to my opponent, and let's go on to SHEP'S Stress number 4. Alright, and here we go, on to a match number 2, this time with SHEP'S Stress number 4, and we're playing against Sex Machine, so that's pretty cool. And they are a veteran 3 opponent, I believe, and they have quite a good looking team, so this might be a pretty fun matchup. So this looks like a Men-at-Arms Mark team. That's pretty fun. Men-at-Arms with command. There's no guard on the doggy, so I don't imagine this is going to be a command buff for the plus damage. And I think that's just for the accuracy, really. Now someone's gonna get marked, and someone's not gonna have a good time, I suppose. Well, in response to that, we're gonna start off with this Transform Slam, probably onto the Bounty Hunter, because having him in position 2 with uppercut is in position 1 with uppercut isn't very cool, but sadly we do not get that slam. So right now we're playing SHEP'S Stress number 4, and specifically this is the Silac variant. This is the exact setup that he brought to the previous tournament and kicked my ass with a couple times with this exact team. It is a very decent setup, having this Flagellant with the Spiked Bats and having this Man-at-Arms with the Rancid Cure-All. So it focuses a lot on applying bleeds and denying bleeds. So it's really good for the end of the match if you're playing against another Flagellant Man-at-Arms combo, because more often than not you're gonna have the advantage. So right now I can drop a Reclaim here, I can drop a guard. I will in fact drop a guard here, just to make sure that the Man-at-Arms, the big doggy doesn't have too much of a hard time here. So if it was a guard on my Man-at-Arms, we would be in a really rough spot because I would have 0 protection. I still have 0 protection on the Abomination, but maybe I stay alive now because the only thing that can bypass our guard is this Piercing Quarrel. That is a very suppressing fire. Yeah, it suppressed my speech. That is a very surprising suppressing fire there. I believe that my opponent just realized that they do not have an offense to take out my Abomination, and now they're trying to change targets, which is indeed a viable play. It is a smart play. I'm gonna go for this Abyssal Artillery here, and with a couple of these, the enemy backline is gonna eat so much stress. The Occultist here has the Fleshbound Grimoire and the Monkey's Paw, so he has a very decent amount of dodge, he has a great amount of accuracy, and his offensive capabilities are fantastic. So we are going to get pulled to position 2 now, after which we are just going to drop a Reclaim. So if we get shot down to 0 HP right now, we will have the possibility of just clicking out of that store and going for an offensive move, probably a Demon's Pull or something of the like. So the reason that my Abomination was even more impossible to focus down than just having a guard is the fact that we also have Stygian Embrace on this Occultist. And what does Stygian Embrace do? Well, it heals other characters for a very small amount, but it also lets you stealth them and make them apply more stress while stealthed. So if you're if you are trying to focus a character down and the occultist just does this, like especially in the Abomination with the Repulse, it's just terrible time for you, absolutely terrible. Right now I'm gonna de-transform here and I'm gonna go for a Beast Smile and just do some stress that way, and then we're gonna go for the second transformation whenever we can. Kind of want to wait out my reclaim action here, that's for sure. We want to wait out the regen. So there's gonna be the sniper shot, and we are still gonna be in a relatively good spot here. Relatively good spot. I think I just misplayed horribly, but not really. Kind of misplayed, but not entirely. What do you mean by that, Shep? How did you misplay there? Well, I could have gone for immediate guard, but if I had gone for immediate guard... Oh, there's no buckshot. That is surprising. Yeah, that is very weird that there's no buckshot here. But right now, I would be in a little bit of a rough place, because after this Hound's Rush, I'm forced to guard, obviously. And after this guard, there could just be a sniper shot if I had not gotten the pull. Or even a puck shot, because it is gonna bypass that guard because of that stabilizing tiller. However, since there's no puck shot, the only thing that can really hurt me right now is the Hound's Harry, and of course the Hound's Harry is only a 25% chance of getting the death blow, and it also eats a repulse from our Abomination, so overall we're having a fantastic time against this Mark team here. So, the Bounty Hunter, what does he want to do? I think that the best play he can do right now is just trying to make himself useful, either through a big finish him onto my Abomination, because he's dazed, so he's taking extra damage, or through a uppercut onto the Flagellum. Definitely not that. There's no world where you do damage to a 70% prot Man-at-Arms. He's guarded twice in a row, so you're never going to do damage to him, at least not a decent amount of damage. I can punish the Bounty Hunter, I can punish the Arbalest. I want to punish both, but getting the Bounty Hunter out of the match is smarter. So I'm gonna do that, and we have a really good chance of bleeding him because we do have the Spiked Bat. So when you do take off the Spiked Bat, you'll notice that you'll start filling a lot of bleeds like that. That's the curse of the Spiked Bat. You bring it, and once you take it off, everything just starts going south for you. And sometimes, if you're unlucky and you bring it, and you're just gonna miss every single ability, because that happens too. You just need to make sure that you have command buffs in case that does indeed happen. So right now, we're gonna click, and we're in a little bit of a rough spot because we don't really want to go for a pull. But going for a move back isn't too bad, right? It isn't too bad. Also, some people would say that I should have immediately guarded the Occultist because, you know, he's the Occultist. I don't think you have to guard him immediately, I think you should adapt to the situation. But yeah, right now we are just gonna move back here and take it from there. I think that is a smart play for us to do because now he's no longer marked. He's in the back, he's fine. We might eat a big collect bounty here, but I think only a crit will drop us down to 0, and yeah. Wow, 12 damage by the way. This is why Salak runs the spiked chain with with plus 20% damage range skills. Like, that's brutal. 12 damage on this repulse. Minus 80% damage by the way. Yeah, the way it works is, if you haven't heard me rant about this yet, the way it works is that the minus 80% damage, unlike ability modifiers where, you know, they're the last thing that happens. For example, on Caltrops you have a minus... No, actually, let's go for Hansari. Hansari you have a minus 80% damage mod, so you can have like plus 15% damage Trinket, plus 10% damage Trinket. What's gonna happen is, you're gonna get that plus damage, but then it's all gonna get shaved down by minus 80. What happens with Repulse is quite different. Instead of you getting the plus damage, and then it's basically percentage down to minus 80% damage, what happens is the plus 25% damage and the plus 20% damage cut away at the repulse damage directly. So instead of having minus 80% damage, you only have like minus 40, and minus 40 on a character that has a lot of base damage means that you're going to be repulsing quite hard, and that's obviously great. It is obviously really, really good. So if there's a Hound's Rush right now onto my Abomination, he is gonna repulse, and then he's just gonna regen out of the store, so that's great for us. So yeah, there is still gonna be a Hound's Rush. The repulse does not land. I think it was a misplay by me not going command, but I was trying to explain the Abomination stuff, so oh well. It happens. Right now we're just gonna go for this, we're gonna go for the Rake, roll for the Death Blow, the Bounty Hunter. If you take that Death Blow right there, you just win the match on the spot. So I think just transforming, applying the second round of order is smarter than not doing that. So yeah, we do that, we do just that. So keep in mind that once you're playing a very defensive team like this, I would say that out of the 4 Chef's Dress variants, the first one would have a really rough time against this, because the doggy can always just break through your man-at-arms quite easily, and the pulls would kind of limit my doggy pretty hard. So I will say that Chef's Dress number 1 would not have a great time against this, but it wouldn't have a terrible time either. Chef's Dress number 2 would not have a great time either, because Houndsary could counter some of the regens, but overall it wouldn't be too bad. Chef's Dress number 3 would have a terrible time against this, because the dodge of the Grave Robber would be essentially meaningless against his command buffs, and it might be a little bit too aggressive to deal with. And Chef's Dress number 4 looks like it's having a jolly good time, I will say here. So I'm gonna click, and I'm just gonna go for another defender, because we're gonna have to do that anyway, and we're just gonna wait out our actions a little bit. So yeah, we do want to keep our Abomination action so we're able to regen. And I will say, a team's, how viable a team is, isn't how good it is in a specific matchup. It's how good it is overall, how well it faces off against every single different matchup, against every single different team. Because, you know, you can build almost infinite teams, dozens of which are really, really competent, and you have to make a team that's able to counter, or at least able to have a decent matchup against all of them. And how do you do that? Well, you need to bring a team that's capable of adapting to almost every single situation. And I will say, much to my discontent, I will say that Chef's Dress number 4 might just be that one. It might be the best of the Chef's Dress teams. I'd say that it's between Chef's Dress number 4 and Chef's Dress number 1. The biggest problem with Chef's Dress number 1 is that it is going to have a terrible time against like Highwayman Riposte. It's going to have a terrible time against Man-at-Arms Riposte with Shield Spike. There's just a few matchups that really suck to play with Chef's Dress number 1. And there's also a few mark teams, a couple mark teams here and there that are just a little bit too fast to deal with once you're actually playing Chef's Dress, and it's not defensive enough to deal with them at the same time. However, if you are playing with Chef's Dress number 4, the only real terrible matchup that you have is either going second, getting very unlucky on everything, or the worst thing that could happen is you run against a shield breaker that's just gonna spam puncture on your cultist, and then you're gonna have a bad time. But for starters, a lot of people don't run Shieldbreaker. She's a pretty rare character to see, and even if they do run Shieldbreaker, sometimes she's just not going to be enough before you kill the entire rest of the enemy team, because more often than not, you're still going to be able to use your actions, and a puncture, even after a puncture, you can still use your pull, so it's not the end of the world, even if that happens. Right now, I do not have a command buff, sadly, so this is a weird place for me to be in. I'm gonna drop a punish here, so yeah, okay, that's good. That is really good. We get a crit for 16 onto that bounty hunter, so that is quite nice. Oh yeah, it does come down to your personal taste. A lot of people swear by the Grave Robber Chef's Dress team, you know, they really like that dodge, it's really great. They make a lot of variants on it, you know, having Crusader instead of it as well. There is some great stuff that you can do with that, but I think Occultist is just a team that you cannot go wrong with. You really cannot go wrong with Chef's Dress number 4. Like, it is fantastic. So right now we still have our guard here. We do not have any command buffs, so I'm gonna fix that. I'm gonna drop the first command buff of the round, actually, because I went for a very weird bellow, like round 3. So yeah, now we drop that, and we should have a really decent time here. There is one problem, which is this Hansari actually applying the bleed onto my Abomination. But even after that bleed, I hit him pretty hard. He doesn't deal enough damage to my Abomination, so I actually stay alive here. And right now I'm gonna drop an Abyss Artillery, and this match is over with this Abyss Artillery, because there's enough stress at this point to kill both these characters. And there still has been no kills against my side of the team, so that's fantastic. My Flagell still has Redeem inbound. We're perfectly fine here to just take the W. So yeah, anyway, big GG's to my opponent. I think that they have a pretty novel team here. Weird setup on the Man-at-Arms, I will say, like having Carnival Mask. Maybe this was kind of a misclick or a misinput on the Trinkets. I think that having Shield Spike with Man-at-Arms here would be kind of a novel team. Maybe even the Veterans Gauntlet, so you could daze your opponent. Like that would be rather fun to see, wouldn't it? But yeah. Right now, we are kind of forced to drop Redeem here, because if we don't, then we can die to that Bounty Hunter by the start of next round, because we didn't even go first. Yeah, we didn't even go first, and we're just having a wonderful time here. But yeah, we do still have a lot of prot. I'm just gonna drop a Redeem onto this Abomination so he's alive and well. Let me tell you, you might feel like you're in an advantageous position, but when you're playing SHEP'S number 4, especially this one, it is one of the toughest teams to play, because there's always a lot of options with the Reclaim and with Occultist and with what the Man at Arms wants to do and what the Abomination wants to do. So unlike SHEP'S number 1, you know, the original one, which is somewhat brain dead, after you figure out how the team works and after you've played all the matchups, you kind of just go into it knowing exactly what's going to happen. You're kind of just aware of what's going to happen, and you know which moves to go for at which time. This seems not quite as easy. Well, I haven't been playing it for quite a while as long, but even then, it's not quite as easy to nail down exactly what you should do in exactly what situation. So if you find yourself thinking and wasting and using up a lot of the torch, that is a good thing, because you're using your mind to see what the best play is, and you are getting a pretty good match because of it. So right now we are still gonna go for another guard here, because we do not want to let our occultist die. You definitely don't want to let your occultist get pulled at this point. This is a problem that happens with all of the SHEP'S teams, is that the Flagellant and the Abomination are actually really weird characters with each other, because if the Man at Arms gets pulled to position 1, the next time there's a pull, they're gonna have a bad time, because they're both gonna get disrupted completely. The Abomination doesn't like being in position 4, and the Flagellant doesn't like being in positions 3 and 4. So you do have to be careful with both of them. So here we're just gonna drop a V-Smile, just to enjoy ourselves, and after that, there might be a big finish him coming onto my Flagellant, or there might be a finish him or a Collect Bounty coming onto the Man at Arms. I'm not quite sure what he wants to do here. Maybe going for a kill on the Man at Arms just to take that 1 prestige point might be the play here, but does he have enough damage? There is minus 20 prot on my MEA, but I suppose that's just gonna be a mark on him, which is the only way he has of marking him. Maybe he looked at the damage and was like, oh, that's not even close enough. So yeah, I just did that, but you know what? I don't want to die here. I don't want to lose any of my characters, so I'm being kind of an asshole here by going for a Reclaim on the Man at Arms, because, you know, that's gonna keep him alive. That's the correct play. At this point, you usually would give like 1 prestige point to your opponent as kind of like a consolation prize, but for some reason I don't feel like giving a consolation prize. I don't know. I do not feel like doing that. I'm just gonna spam a V-Smile here, and eventually this Man at Arms is gonna go down, and then there's no way that a Bounty Hunter can win this. So that is a pretty good match for us. Actually, did we win all 4 of the SHEP'S matches? I think we did. I'm not entirely sure, but I do think that we did win all 4 of them, which is really nice. Right now, yeah, now there's a surrender, so yeah, that's why. At this point you should have surrendered already, so that's why I'm not giving prestige points, I guess. So yeah, GG's to my opponent. We did win all 4 of the matches with the SHEP'S team, so I hope y'all enjoyed this showcase of all of them. And do give each and every single one of them a try, or do give the one that looks best to you a try. So, is there any more variants you could do of SHEP'S? Well, technically there's infinite variants, because you just put these 3 characters together, everything else is SHEP'S, but not quite, but yeah. I will remind you that I only did the first one. All the other ones were just either made by other people or just showed up without names, and, you know, I just gave them SHEP'S names because they kind of look like SHEP'S, and mine was the original to be done like over 2 years ago. So yeah, what other things you do? Well, you can always, like, stress teams kind of have the base of the Abomination Man at Arms, so you can change like lots of things around. So you can put a Crusader here, you can take you out, put you there, you can be crazy, put a Hellion there, you can still bring the doggy if you want, though that's a little bit scary for a team like this. Is not too efficient, but yeah, lots of things you can do with stress teams. But anyway, hope you all enjoyed the potential, like, paradigm. Yeah, I think this is the paradigm of stress teams right now. I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you again another time. Cheers.